All right. Hey, thanks so much. Welcome everyone to the August 15th Sun Valley Nominations and Elections Committee meeting. Um, Appreciate everyone being here and welcome. So with the roll call, all three of us are here, myself, Karen Borchert, and Gail Cirillo. Michael Wadsworth is not going to be here tonight with an excused absence. So we will be missing Michael. The first item is to approve tonight's agenda. Um, is there anything to amend to tonight's agenda?
I move to approve.
Okay, thank you. So with acclamation, we will the agenda is approved. The next item would be to approve the minutes from July 15th. Any changes to that?
Well, I'll move to approve. I just read them before our meeting and I found maybe 3 typos, not substantive in any way. And I can just send Michael an update, he might use voice recognition and sometimes voice recognition blows it. So there are a couple of things where I could see what the intent was, but I think they're typos. So I'll move to approve the minutes. They were
Great.
good.
Yes.
Thank you. Karen, any comment at all?
No, I think they're good.
Okay, so they are approved. Morgan, do we have any members with us tonight?
No, just 4 of us.
Just the 4. Okay. All right. So with that, let's go into ongoing business. I wanted to share with you, things have been kind of moving quick, and I wanted to share with you what we sent over to Unilect at this point with revisions. And you'll see that we chose the envelope number 2 that we all got to weigh in on. And I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully it's not going to be blurry. If I remember right, I think, bear with me just a minute here. Sometimes with this stuff, it's an old dog needing to learn new tricks. Let's see here. So I'm going to open. Yeah, here's the ballot here's the ballot itself. So let me come back. See if I can share that. Share it. I think this is it. Yeah, there it is. Okay. Can you see it?
I see the secret envelope.
Yeah, I gotta spin it
Cut
around.
off at the top.
Yeah, I gotta slide it down.
Yeah,
So there's the secret envelope.
good.
There's the business reply mail.
Okay.
And there is number 2 that we chose. I wish I could spin this thing. I am not a PDF expert. But that is it. So it's got the contents on it. So it's green with the contents of what's in there. This is going to be the area where the person's address is and their name is going to be in there. The idea was, could we capture people's attention? The fuchsia, this is important election materials, is in there. So that is what was approved. The board approved this. We let Unilect know. There we go. Okay, so this, I wish I could make this bigger. There we go. So I'm going to go through this and stop me if you have any questions. One of the things that we thought would be good was on the ballot instructions themselves. There would be one for the Canadian residents because of the concern of making sure that their votes do get counted if they want to vote. So the first thing that we took out was where it says measures, it also said advisory votes. So I recommended, I just did an executive decision, guys, on that.
That's fine.
Okay. This area here says for board of directors, how many candidates and what would be the term. Well, we're leaving that part open at this part because we don't know how many people are going to apply for each position. So as you know, for example, there are 4 open board seats.
Right.
One of them only they're 3-year terms. One of them, the position that Josh Bowens held that currently Rick Asai is sitting in, that whoever gets voted at the AGM, they would only have 2 years left of that term.
But why would that be? I mean, Josh had a 3-year term and he only served like a week of it or so.
Yeah, and then someone filled in for the remainder of it, so he has 2 years left.
Okay. All
So
right.
there's
Yeah,
That's my
okay.
understanding, but I'm bringing this up early because I want to ensure that NE and all of us board staff, we're all on the same page about whether that's a 2-year term remaining. So
it is, because
It-
you have to have 3 rotating every year.
That's
So
right.
if you end up in a year where there's an appointee, now I have a question about this because they were going to ask the attorney, because there was some confusing wording in there about whether or not when someone was appointed, they just assumed the remainder of that term or if they didn't. So maybe there's guidance on that yet. But the way that it has always been done is to try to maintain this 3-year, 3-year terms. Now, sometimes it
Right.
doesn't work out that way, but you're trying to maintain that status quo.
Right. So Karen, if we're talking the same thing, I think it's the bylaw conflict that Gail found working with Linda Bradley.
Mm-hmm.
We proposed a bylaw change so that the two are not in conflict. The 2 sections in the bylaws were not in conflict. The attorney looked at that suggested change, agreed, and the board at the last board meeting on Thursday approved that measure to be on the ballot.
So it's
And
going to be,
how will it read now?
yeah.
That when you,
Yeah, let me,
or maybe we should go back to the board meeting and,
this is going to sound like a cop-out. The wording is going to be how you and Linda suggested that measure be.
okay. Yeah, I realize that,
And I can dig that out of the board meeting packet and email it to you guys if you'd like.
Well, I
well,
think,
is it in the board meeting packet?
yeah, was it
Yes.
posted?
If it's there, we
Uh,
can,
Yes,
okay, that's good. I'm afraid at the moment now, sorry, guys, I mean, so just refresh me. The idea was, the conflict was that in some part of, I think, Article 3, someone assuming an appointment for an unexpired term would serve the entire unexpired term, but elsewhere it said they would serve 1 year, and then if they wanted to fill that position, they had to run again. That's
and
right.
that latter is what's getting cleaned up.
Okay,
It's,
so that,
go ahead,
oh,
go ahead.
no, I'm not sure, that was helpful to me. But then to clarify, Karen says we have to have 3 3-year terms at every election, people turning over. So that would mean that we do then have 1 2-year term left unfilled. But that will not go to whoever filled the position through appointment. It will go to the, if we have 4 candidates, the person with the lowest number of votes, right? The positions are filled in terms of highest number gets longest term. Yeah,
That's
just
right.
confirming that because I was, yeah.
The
Okay,
last time this occurred, I believe, was when is her name Asia Andretti? I believe that when her term was, she received the least amount of votes for all of the open positions, so therefore she filled
a
a
1-year
seat
term.
that had the
Not the
remainder of
least, because she had higher votes than several of the other candidates, but they just fill it in order. So the highest votes gets 3-year, the second highest 3-year, the third highest 3-year, the fourth highest, whatever the next longest term is. We've had many, many years of this where
Yes.
we have
Yes.
had staggered terms.
Mhm.
Karen, thank you so much for wording it that way, because that's what my brain wanted to say, but I didn't
Mhm.
say it very well, so thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's this section, it's those parentheses are open because we still don't know how many people are going to apply.
So we'll probably have to have more wording in here though. So we'll say like for the board of directors race, the 3 candidates with the highest vote totals will have 3-year terms. The
Yes,
Right.
next highest will have a 2-year term, assuming that we had 4 candidates. Same for these others, the architectural control committee, the candidates will have a, I don't know. I don't
All
know
those
where
can be
well,
termed-
ACC is
ACC gets a little sticky because they have 6 open seats.
at.
The bylaws state that they're 3-year terms staggered so that only there are 3 new elected seats every year, but yet there's 6. So I've talked a little bit with Daniel and Keith about this. We're gonna need to, I suppose it goes by how many votes that, same thing.
Yeah,
You
it would be
know,
the same, but they have to know what terms are open. Right?
yeah,
With the ACC, aren't all 6 terms open because they've, unfortunately always had an under supply of candidates as does NNE.
yeah, technically, I think they are. The other thing they could do is they could draw their names out of a hat and say, how they're gonna rotate out,
Yeah, so
I-
only 3, assuming they had more than, if they had enough candidates, only 3 of them would have 3-year terms, and the other 3 we'd have to determine. I don't know how many people got elected last year?
I think
One.
2, isn't it? Joe Jean and
Georgine got elected, and I think Daniel carried over. He'd been elected before.
wasn't Wayne also elected?
Oh, was he? Yeah. So
Who is Wayne?
he's on our finance, that's on our finance committee?
No,
Same-
Wayne
oh,
is a
different.
gentleman on the ACC.
Oh, so a different guy than that just joined finance. Okay.
I think so.
Um,
Yeah, my recall is that only Joe Jean got elected, but I have to go back and look.
Yeah, could be, guys.
But
Um,
I'd like to make a point here, Rob, just really quickly. On this information on the ballot going to the Canadian homeowners. Number one, I do find Canadian residing SVCA homeowners to be kind of a mouthful. Aren't they simply our Canadian members?
yeah, I suppose.
I mean, I
I
think I could move to Vancouver and rent an apartment and then I'd be one of them, but at any rate, so I just question the mouthfulness, the over verbiage maybe of that.
oh, instead of like saying Canadian citizens, which
Well,
could be,
Canadian
but
members, I mean,
yeah.
if you call them Canadian, then it implies they're a citizen and they're a
S-
member because they own property and
Yeah.
I think the reason why it says residing is because there are their ballots are being mailed to them.
Mhm.
you know,
In other words, some Canadian members may live here year round and just get their mail here. Is
no,
Or have a,
I think what it means is there are homeowners and members of the community that don't live here permanently, but their official Sudden Valley mail goes to their Canadian address. And in the fall, they're somewhere in Canada. But remember, this also applies to, there's like 2 or 3 other people that live somewhere else outside the United States, and we just left it as Canadian. So
I think that's okay. You know, I suspect that I think there's one in Wales and one in Taiwan and 2 in Singapore or something. It would be interesting. I don't know if we can tell if those individuals ever even return a ballot. My sense is they may not. They're so far away. But with that, well, that was one question just about that mouthfulness of the Canadian residing SVCA homeowners. The second is that what you've highlighted here in yellow, Rob, that we've just discussed, the terms. I'm wondering though, if that is where we want to put that information, only because we haven't talked about how many candidates we have,
it's a
right? I
placeholder.
mean, don't we want to say that?
Yeah, at this point, I think, Gail, it's a placeholder. And
Oh,
I
good.
think that
Okay.
once we
Good,
have the
good.
information, we would put it in there. Personally,
Okay,
I think
good.
if I was gonna have a ballot, I'd wanna know that.
You would want to know that. I just wondered you also would want to know more of that. In other words, it seemed to me that section was only about mailing. And then maybe when you went down to vote, then we got into the
Oh,
nitty.
no, at this point, this is the ballot instructions. This is what's on the ballot itself.
Mhm. Okay,
So, yeah. So going further down to vote,
right,
again, this is, some of this is, we know there will be measures.
right,
We don't know whether there will be fewer candidates than the actual number of vacant positions indicated on the ballot have submitted their candidate. We don't know that yet. We don't know whether we're
right,
going to have more than 4 people.
right.
So
Or even have as many as 4.
it's a place. So I really hope we get some people that want to get involved. If they need to replace their ballots, they need to do that by September 30th. Because of the, if you need to replace your ballot, do not receive your ballot by September 30th, then they need to call. The reason why is, the Canadians should receive their ballot on or about the 27th, based on the
Right.
flow of their mail.
Right,
It's about 3 days. If by the 30th they have not received one, they need to call. They need to call.
so
for-
Rob, I have a comment on that as well. I mean, I think that that particular bit of information has to be in the views, maybe has to be on our website, because
Mhm.
if we have
Yeah.
it on the ballot, but they don't get the ballot, they won't get the info that they need to call.
You know, when I just said that, I thought the same thing. So I will take an action to make sure that's in the views article, or I can, I'll work with Morgan to, maybe with the e-blast that's coming up,
Good, good, good.
probably
Yeah,
not time this week, but next. Let's,
okay.
yeah, it is, this probably needs to come out sooner, towards the middle of September or something like that, the beginning of September.
I would
Well,
say
one
as soon
other
as it's
question.
finalized to print, let's put it on the website at least. Same with candidates. As soon as we have that
Mhm.
squared away, their bios and stuff, once we send that to the ballot or to Unilect to print, let's put it on the website. The budget, I don't know if it's on there yet, but presumably it's ready to at least be, the draft is at least ready to be presented because they're presenting it on Saturday. Let's get it on the website so people can find it.
And in terms of the I'm just gonna say, the Excel snaps that we put on the ballot instructions, excuse me. You know, where it has the financial measure, it lists, it has what I'm not saying this very well. You know, like on the ballot instructions where it has there's a piece with line items from the budget itself.
Yeah, it summarizes it.
Yeah, I'm gonna need help from someone on snapping those summaries onto this year's ballot instructions, because I don't copy and paste special very good.
I think I would recommend working directly with Joel on that, because if we get an intermediary, there's always the chance that something gets published that isn't the official. And I know he worked with Linda before.
Okay,
So I would say just, I mean, if you need to schedule time to just go into his office and like, I've got it on my computer or whatever, and let's just make sure we transfer it and make sure he is, yes, this is the official thing. I would be happy to do it. However, every time you enter another step, there's another possibility of something being incorrect. And so Joel
that's
is the
true.
source. Joel's the source, so I would have him put it in and make sure it's in and it's correct and it's in the right place.
Perfect. The budget has not been officially approved. Once it does, I will set up a meeting with him. That's a great suggestion, Karen.
Yeah,
Thank
and they can't approve it until there's a certain date and they approve it on that certain date.
Yeah,
And I think some of the other things come directly from the reserve study, which I think we should have in time, but it doesn't necessarily match with that budget approval date. And so he's gonna have to pull information from a few different places. But yeah, he is the owner of that information.
okay. Okay, that's good feedback. I think maybe I'll just swing by and just chat with them about the timing of that.
Yeah,
And then, so that's the Canadian, this is the US. Same thing.
Rob, I have another question quickly.
Yeah,
I know on our agenda, you have, under new business, you have out of US members letter. So that is not what we're looking at or maybe
no,
we're about.
no,
That's gonna be a
no.
totally separate thing.
no, that's a totally separate thing.
Okay, just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, no, that's a good question.
Okay, so,
This is the same thing.
so the next one is just for everyone who's not a Canadian.
yeah, everyone
All of
who's
us.
US.
US,
Okay,
very straightforward. And when they need to request a
oh, I
replace.
had another suggestion, Rob. I'm sorry, I did go through this and I have my little red line sheet here. This came up for me last year and I was just chatting before our meeting started with Morgan about this. We make formal, probably official references to the community center. But even though I've been in the Valley 10 years, I've always been confused about exactly where or what is the community center. So I'd like to propose that whenever our ballot instructions talk about the community center, that in parens, we add parens and quotation marks, the dance barn.
Sure, that's good.
Because people, I think everyone knows what the dance barn is, whether it's the top floor, the basement, or or the recreation parts, the weightlifting and whatever. I just think it would be simple. I think that legally we have to call it the community center because I remember discussing this with Joanne last year. And but I think, and even Morgan felt that people are very confused about the dance barn, the community center, the clubhouse, right? I mean, it's all really the same edifice.
The clubhouse is where El Agave and admin used to be and golf. That's
I'm
the
sorry,
clubhouse.
I'm sorry, you're right,
Yeah.
Karen, you're cut, but they are still confused. As I was confused.
I would suggest using the address of it.
For
ins-
Clubhouse Circle?
It's right here.
No,
Clubhouse.
it's 8 Barnview or 4. Okay, 4. Is it really 4? I thought it was Barn 8.
It is Barn 8.
What's
It's
4?
Barn 8. That's why if we just call it Barn 8, the dance barn, something like that.
Well, I'm just thinking if there's people that are newer or don't necessarily live here,
It-
they could actually
it-
put
the-
the address in.
The barn is 8 Barnview Court, and the
Oh.
clubhouse is 4 Clubhouse Circle.
Okay, so either way, that needs to be changed.
Yeah, good catch, you guys.
Yeah, I think you could say SVCA Community Center, parentheses, dance barn, located at 8
Barnview
Barnview
Court.
Court.
It's
It's a
court.
good catch.
Okay,
Well, I think it would be helpful, especially for
Yeah.
users, because you get all this stuff and, sometimes the address or the name is embedded in some legal document, but then there's what people just generally know, dance barn, whatever. Okay,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
I'm gonna make that little addition to our voting instructions.
Okay. Bear
Do I-
with
do
me
we
just a
need to
second.
For any of this, or just talking?
Hmm?
I only asked, do we need motions for any of this, or we're working on a draft and?
No,
Yeah.
it's just getting at this point, it's just your feedback and we're working on it.
Okay, that's good, that's
I
good.
think the board will approve the final
Okay,
draft anyway. I mean, maybe we approve one that we're like, yeah, we think it looks good. It's ready to go to the board. I don't know. I don't know how the timing of all that will work, but
mhm,
yeah, I think as a draft, we can just get consensus.
okay.
And bear with me a second.
Oh, I had another, sorry to keep busting in like this, but I had another thought or concern. And probably in both of them. The section, the top section that begins, important if mailing your ballot, mail as early as possible. Each of the Canadian flavor and the US flavor have that in bold, all caps. But I'm wondering if we shouldn't follow that by saying alternatively, you can drop your ballot in the ballot drop box in the clubhouse, or you can vote from the floor on the day of. Shouldn't we remind people that there is an option, two options really, if they don't get the ballot mailed?
Yeah, that's I'm listening to you while I'm thumbing through a folder. No, that's
Uh,
good. That's good.
if-
That helps them, you know.
If we put voting from the floor, we also need, which has been in previous ballots, but we need to put the instructions about you can't bring your filled out ballot to the floor. You have to come in. So, I mean, so I guess you can drop it in the drop box. You can come in that morning and register and vote. You can also vote from the floor during the meeting, but either way, if you were voting day of, you have to come in and register and get a new ballot. You can't bring old ballots in. And that's not a problem for people that plan to just come in and vote, but has been before for people that plan to vote from the floor because they just come in with their old ballot and they haven't registered in time.
Well, it might make this a little longer, but I think we should spell it out. Again, was it Rob who said this, I think you said this to me, Rob, you believe in giving people the information multiple times.
I
Mm-hmm.
do.
Oh,
The only concern I have is from the printing aspect of ensuring that we aren't going to crowd too much in a space and then the text gets really small or anything. I'm not a printer, but I will bring it up though. It's good. It's good feedback.
There is some white space on each of them, a little bit less maybe on the Canadian one. I think just, a printer, someone who does that, the typography and so forth, would be able to play with this a little bit.
Right, right.
And
Okay,
it's
so
being printed
I
by
think we,
Unilect, or is it being printed by our printer in Bellingham?
it's being done by our printer up here,
Yeah, so that should make it all the easier to communicate.
right? Um, okay, any other comments about what we've reviewed so far?
Mm-mm.
Okay, we looked at the outer envelope artwork, candidate forums. Um, so I just want to review that really quick.
Mhm.
We chose October 2nd and October 13th to be the dates of the forums. The previous meeting minutes didn't reflect a date we chose for the meet and greet.
Was that
And
gonna be?
I don't remember what we chose for that. Anybody
I,
remember?
I
for some
think I'm
reason,
confused.
I was thinking we were going to have them kind of select a date, the candidates sort of select a date that they were available. Maybe I am
Oh,
wrong
that
on
makes sense. No, that makes sense because we have no idea who the candidates are and what their
Mhm.
schedules might be. And we
And
want to
since
be
it was
fair.
informal and not like we didn't need to prepare anything other than reserving some space for them. But it wasn't like we had other
Yeah,
things
yeah,
set
very
up.
informal. Maybe a kickoff where someone says, hi, everyone, every members, welcome. You know, enjoy this time with the candidates and a little later we'll be closing things down. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm just
Mm-hmm.
just something to light that kicks it off, something that closes it, and then we go. So I think the 2nd and the 13th are going to work because looking back now at mailings, um, people within the United States and Canada should have their ballots around the 27th of September. Um, um, if if we have the first forum on the 2nd, people should have their ballots in hand. And they should be able to see on the Sudden Valley website who the candidates are, with some bios that are in there. They should also, I'm going to ask Morgan to send out some e-blasts like, hey, you know, the people have been announced and here, get a chance to know who they are. You know, it's on the website, kind of something along that line. So I think if we stick to the 2nd, the 13th, people will have a ballot on at least by the first forum, and if they don't, they at least would know who's running for which positions, and they can take some notes because it's virtual.
Mm-hmm.
So we are still not quite. I have to go to the calendar, but we're still a couple weeks away from announcing those forums. But is there, without dredging up, you know, going over information we've already approved or recommended, I should say. You guys still feel good about the 2nd and the 13th?
Mm-hmm.
I do, I've put them on my calendar, but let me just clarify them. We're going to have a third very informal dance barn event that the candidates themselves will kind of come up with a date that
A
works.
date. And I would send them a note with so my note, I think, includes when the forums are going to be. It will also include the NNE committee would very much like you to have a nice meet and greet session that's in the dance barn. Families can come. Would you please let me know the dates that you are available, and let me know by a certain date. I could even put one of those little surveys, you know, where there's dates and times in there and
Yeah.
everybody chooses it, so it helps people
I
along
think
the
it's good to suggest a few dates to help people
Ye-
focus. Maybe,
Yeah. I was actually just looking through my calendar, and after I thought we said to Tuesday, I had put October 19th in mine. So I agree with Gail. Like, let's suggest some dates.
Yeah,
as
I
a
So-
mean,
starting
3
point.
or 5,
It was 3 to 5, yeah. But,
So,
that's a lot, actually, maybe 3.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
of
maybe
course-
just 3 dates, like the 19th, you could do the 19th or the 20th, so a Saturday or Sunday, and maybe another day of the week.
Well, if it's gonna be for families, probably a weekend is good,
Eh,
not necessarily.
depends. Depends on what your family is doing.
Whether or not whether you have athletic stars in your
Not
setup.
even stars, just rec team kids.
having fun. So the 19th or the 20th, that sounds good. That's about a week, almost a week after the last
Yeah.
formal one. Um,
Now, on this, on the general instructions, what are we telling them? That they have got to mail their ballots to Unelect by Wednesday, October 23rd. That's the cutoff that we say. So yeah, okay, this is still okay. If they want to mail them in. I just wanted to make sure that we didn't choose a date that was after our recommended mailed in date. 'Cause
Yeah.
people
I was
probably-
thinking maybe the dates we suggest are 19th, 20th, or 22nd, which is a Tuesday. I don't know if that would conflict with any other meetings or whatever, but we could check on that. And that way they're
Yeah.
all before
Mhm,
any of the first required mail-in dates.
mhm.
I'll check with Joanne about those dates. And, cause I'm sure she's got a calendar of everything that's been going on. This would be in the dance barn. She, suggested that maybe the Sudden Valley could provide some light refreshments and,
Yeah.
just make it kind of a nice conversation.
I like it.
Okay,
That's a good idea.
in terms of the forums, then some conversation and some member comments about who ought to conduct the forums. I personally feel like as a voted vetted member of NE, and the board approved those people that volunteered their time, I think we ought to conduct the candidate forums officially. The bylaws, or excuse me, our new manual, and it says that we will conduct it. Um,
Which the
I,
board approved.
yes, I feel like I just don't feel like there's any of us who are out to get anybody or to gerrymander or anything like that. I'm sorry if anybody felt that way, but I don't think that's anyone's intent. What I would suggest is we spend some time thinking about what are questions that are meaningful, and not some questions we could ask that could take somebody literally 5 minutes to answer. You know, I'm saying, something that is meaningful. I mean, these are people that are helping to manage the organization, which, we have, it's several $1,000,000, and it's not like the Bellingham Yacht Club or something like that. So
Yeah.
anybody, what do you guys feel about what I've just said in regard to who conducts the forums?
Well, I feel very strongly, Rob, that for the sake of argument, let's say that NNE said, well, someone else can moderate. How is that person going to be vetted? I mean, and then how about the values and biases of the decider of that person? I mean, I feel that going through the electoral process or even the appointment process is about as much as you can hope for in terms of validating the integrity of the people who are volunteering to do the work, So I think that was a little bit off. it was a property owner's comment, I know from the board meeting, and I watched it, and I also heard a question of that person, who also got more votes than anyone else at our last AGM. So it's not that the format harmed the speaker, but the gotcha questions. You know, if you don't want to answer a question, you're going to probably say, oh, well, that was a gotcha question. But you know, as a multi-million-dollar organization with what, 8,000 people living here, 3,200, 3,400 actual voting members or potentially voting members, I mean, we do have big decisions to make. And the board will make them, the board and the other committees. I think you sometimes do have to take questions for issues that are before the board where people don't agree, for various reasons, but ask the candidates, what their thinking is. That's not gotcha. That's just
Right.
sharing. This is where I'm coming from. If elected, this is what I would want to have happen. I mean, that is the most important information, really. It's not gotcha. I mean,
Well,
what?
to me, gotcha is, have you ever filed for bankruptcy?
Oh, no, no, no,
Have
no.
you ever, well, you're a fiduciary of this corporation of all these assets. Have you ever filed for bankruptcy? Have you ever had a DUI? I mean,
Oh, yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Those to me are
Mhm.
gotcha questions. If somebody, I'm just going to be honest with you guys, if somebody wants to ask a candidate this year, would have you voted for the Welcome Center? That issue has come and gone. We're looking to the future.
Right.
I don't think that's it's just a question that's, I suppose you could ask them at the meet and greet, but I don't want to take the time to ask five, I mean, let's say 7 viable candidates that question, because it's past. It's in the
And we
past.
did not
Well,
do that last year.
let me add to that, just to play devil's advocate a little bit. First of all, I would like
Sure.
the questions to be structured around like requests, solicit feedback from the community and formulate the questions around themes that the community has. If the Welcome Center, for instance, was still a hot topic for the community, and to me, yes, that deal is done. But in the way that someone answers it, both in their demeanor and how they just talk about the process, to me would give me some insight into how they think through things like that if another situation were to come up, and how they look at their role in due diligence, in looking at our reserves and what we can handle and what we don't. And so there's a lot of good information to glean by looking back and seeing how things were done. Now, I would not ask it, I would not put it forward. But if that's a theme that comes from the community, I think it's fair to put on there. And the one thing I will say about, the gotcha question idea is we're not asking specific questions to specific candidates. Every candidate is answering the same questions. So there's really no way in my opinion, there can be that, because everyone has the same opportunity to answer the same questions, which honestly wasn't the case in all. Not that I think they were gotcha questions before, but just the way they ran the forums, like I might get a question that another candidate didn't get. And so based on that, you could kind of feel like, hey, they got an easy question and I got a hard one or whatever. But everyone's answering the same one. And the themes and the topics are coming from the community and what those questions and concerns are that they have. So I wouldn't couch anything as a gotcha question, because if it's uncomfortable to answer, it's because, it's something that the community wants to know more about. They have concerns about it. And so I think you can tell a lot in how people answer, and are able to handle uncomfortable things, because it happens on the board. You have to
It does.
talk about things that you maybe have really strong opinions or emotions about.
Yeah, that's good feedback. That's good devil's advocate positioning. The main thing, I just felt like this falls within our purview. We want to do it well. I don't think anybody on this committee wants to come into here and just wing things and just, we want to do things well and do things above board and not we want to be very careful that we are treating everybody the same in terms of candidates. So,
Agreed. And regardless of any of that, it's in the manual and it's NNE that runs them. And the board approved that. So that's what it is, because they approved it.
so why don't I draft a short views article indicating that we are, the NNE committee is soliciting questions.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
Where should those questions go? Should they come to me?
Yeah, they should go to you.
Yeah.
Rob. You can
Okay.
send them out to the committee as we get closer and so
Okay,
forth.
I will do that.
And then we can kind of powwow. So we can't, this is one of the things is that I don't think, we certainly don't want to discuss the questions in an open meeting because they should be quiet
No,
until, so some of us will probably need to powwow together to kind of sort through those themes and topics and questions and kind of go through and get a
sure.
list of them.
Yeah. The
I'm trying
last
to
thing I think I
remember
would
last
say,
year, though. I'm
go
trying
ahead, Gail.
to-
Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I don't recall, did I share the questions with the candidates ahead of time or not? I don't remember, to be honest, or I might have at one. I might have shared some questions. I think I shared them actually.
I don't know.
I'll have to go back and look. In
Yeah,
other words, there was no gotcha because you knew, as I recall, you knew ahead of time. Now, were there some questions from the floor that maybe, see, to
but
be
those
honest,
were even still vetted. Those were still vetted. You, I, and Joanne, or maybe Rob, I, and Joanne, and I can't remember in the second forum because Joanne was moderating, but
Yeah.
remember, like, we still
you reviewed them. and
reviewed
they said
them
they were,
together. So we weren't just letting it somebody come up from the floor or reading it, first blush. We were, and
Yeah.
even those, I think we kind of looked for themes, like are more people asking about it that hasn't been asked yet.
mhm.
So you might have sent all of them to me. I know we talked about sending some, sending all. I certainly think we should send some. I think it's
Yes.
kind of a nerve-wracking process, and it's definitely more comfortable for them to know they at least have had the time to prepare
Mhm.
some answers. And I don't see any harm in having them being able to prepare
Yeah,
all
no,
of their answers
Yes.
and do research. I mean, that's how we expect them to behave in the board, is not necessarily speak and vote off the cuff, but do their
Mhm.
research and come prepared.
Yeah.
So
No, that's right. I think that's good.
maybe it was.
So
Maybe
as,
the gotcha was, we did the lightning round. I know that from having done this kind of thing and politically a lot, they're a lot of fun for the audience. You have your yes, no signs. It may be that, I think it was Josh who made the comment at the board meeting. Maybe he found the lightning rod round questions to be gotchas. I just was really surprised that he had concerns about it. I thought really it had gone well.
I thought it went well.
well,
I liked it.
yeah, when I just look at his feedback was good, respectful feedback. And I always like to listen to those kinds of things and think about it.
Uh-huh.
So the other thing is the suggestion about pulling names out of a hat.
Yeah.
I was just going to share this with you. So we have this little random pick, a computerized random pick tool that we use at the Here and Now project. When we have giveaways, everybody's name goes on it, and then it just randomly selects a name. Oh, it's Karen. She's the recipient. In this case, it might be if we use something like this for picking the people's names as they go first, second, and third.
How
It
does
would
that
just
work,
be-
Rob? Is it a machine?
Well, no, it's a component. You would load all it's so easy. You just put everybody's name on, in the tool, and it
And
just
is
randomly
it
puts
software?
everybody's name. It looks like a pinwheel.
Uh-huh.
You hit enter and it spins and it
Uh,
first pick Rob. And
But
then
is it a
Rob's name-
piece of software
let me-
or
let
is
me-
it a device?
let me just finish, Gail.
I'm sorry.
So, sorry. So you hit you touch spin, picks my name first, it's Rob. Then Rob's name comes off. Hit spin, Gail's picked second. it's just randomly, nobody's reaching into a hat. No,
Mhm.
I'm open to trying something different.
Well,
And
it sounds great. But is it a piece of software or is it a device?
Mhm.
that's
well,
been-
it's actually a piece of software that resides on my computer, because guess what? I'm often one of the PA announcers at our events. You don't know if that surprises you guys.
Well, see, I wonder if that then would say, okay, Rob programmed his computer ahead of
Oh,
time.
God, I know. Maybe just
Oh,
pull
wait.
names out of a hat.
Yeah.
Yes, we can, really. I mean,
I
if
mean,
folks want to be.
personally, personally, I like it. It's fun and
It sounds great to me. It sounds
yeah.
like great.
There's no way, being that I know on the back end, there's no way that I can do anything, because I have nothing to do with the programming of the tool. I just put the names in, hit spin, and there it goes. It picks somebody, and then that name automatically pops out and it picks somebody else. So
So we could, I know we kind of talked about this last year, and last year we ended up having that candidate drawing meeting in the Welcome Center, and it was Zoomed and streamed live, but it was a private meeting essentially. Even though we were out in the open, anyone could have come, but it wasn't public. And prior to I don't know what they did during COVID, but prior to that, it was held in El Agave or
I
the
remember
dance
that,
barn
yeah.
or somewhere where people could be in person and view, and they would have randomly select someone. Could that person be biased? Yes. Randomly select someone from the audience. So you could do the same with the random number generator, is enter the names in as they are called and vetted, and then have someone from the audience spin. And we could
It's
probably have many someones from the audience spin it however we want. My only suggestion about that whole thing is, one, I would prefer to have it in a public place where people are invited to come if they want.
Mhm.
I know that's more work for staff, but we have heard rumblings about that last year that it wasn't. And we were trying to accommodate staff and their ability to set up,
Mhm.
AV.
Mhm.
But is to not read aloud the name until they have been vetted. So we open the envelope, Joanne checks it, then she can say the name, and so and so is running for this position. They have been vetted as a member in good standing, and then they get added to the list.
sure.
But if we're doing this publicly, Karen, how can Joanne vet the candidate without knowing that person's name? And we say it
No,
aloud.
so like you open the envelope,
Uh-huh.
and I can't remember how we opened the envelope before. I think there was a process to that, but the envelope gets opened. She
Pass it
sees,
to her.
yeah, she sees, because we did that last time, but we said the name first and then passed it to her, and she would say they are a member in good standing. And just knowing, because there can be clerical errors, there can be things that you don't know about. Just that to me would be embarrassing if you're running
Right.
for a position and you might not even know that I don't know, there's some little thing, or maybe it's a big thing and you did know, but I just think we shouldn't even say the names until they've been vetted.
But we
Yeah,
pass.
I agree. I agree.
All righty. Well, I think these are good points, excellent.
So, the next item is out of US members letter. So what this is a letter that we would send to everybody who has a mailing address outside of the United States.
Mhm.
It would say, please ensure that this is this is the correct address where you want your official mailings to go to. Maybe there's a better post office box that I would rather have my mail go to, or maybe there's a business address or something that I regularly pick up. What we found out last year in the conundrum, and Gail, you probably remember,
I
there
do.
was at least one person who their official mailing address was not an address they normally picked up their mail. And
No,
so
I
the
do remember
ballot
that.
actually
I do
went there.
remember that.
Yeah,
But again, Rob, could we put that also in your views article? Because if we're sending the letter to an address they don't use very often or at all, then they won't get the letter, right? So
yeah,
in other words, members who have any doubt at all can call the office and I'm sure that someone in admin will verify to them or tell them what is their address on record.
Right, right.
Which they might want to do if they've changed addresses or have multiple addresses, you know.
Well, but I
residents-
know that admin, Morgan may have been involved in it. They had a project where they tried to clean up all of the email or post office data for all of us in Sun Valley. So how
Well,
they
I
did
don't know
it, I'm
when
not
that
sure.
happened, because I do
We
remember.
were trying to do a big project of that, but it got pushed out too late to really do anything effective. But I think it would be really helpful if when you wrote your article, you said, please confirm with the Welcome Center or admin, however you want to phrase it, that you're please make or please ensure that your most current and accurate address is on file. That's where we will mail your ballot.
Right,
So
well,
that
I think
just,
that's important too.
you know, like,
Yeah, I can do that. And
Yeah.
I can put, I see what I'm hearing is a cross communication between a news article and this letter that I'm proposing we send to the people outside
Yeah.
of the US. And in it, it's going to state you can expect your ballot it will be mailed on, I think, the 24th of September. You can expect it by the 27th. If you don't receive it by the 30th, please quickly request a replacement ballot, or here are other ways that you can vote
Mhm.
in terms of proxy, in terms of a replacement ballot.
Mhm.
Also in there, indicate that there will be forums. So please watch them, make your decision and vote early. If you want your vote to be counted, vote early. And that would be something that would be mailed to them.
you know, Gail, you know that document we linked to on the web?
That we're
Eh,
working on.
Yeah, maybe we can put in there and just so that if anybody's reading it, it
Mhm.
says, you know, to ensure timely receipt of your ballot, please verify your mailing address with the Welcome Center or something like that.
Yep,
Yeah, I would.
Maybe
I
maybe
might say if you've moved or if you have multiple
Yeah.
addresses, because obviously you don't want 3,200 people calling the Welcome Center.
and,
well,
and
I don't think there's going to be that many, but you know, just something like if you're because people know, like, oh, right, you know, last year it went to my Tumbling Water address, and actually I'm in Santa Barbara,
Yep.
you know.
Yep.
So I think just saying and pointing out the address that you have on file with the Welcome Center is where your ballot's going to go.
Yep, yep, I can put all that in there.
Thank you.
And I can, where there's good frequently asked questions type information on the website, I can provide hyperlinks on the.
Yeah, that's what I'm
article.
saying on that
Yeah.
document, you know, just put it in there.
Yep,
Yeah. And you know, you can always update your address by sending an email to office@sunvalley.com. That's what you should say. Yeah.
perfect.
Is
Yeah.
that- Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put a views article together that that provides this information. I'm going to draft this this letter to outside of US. Actually, this was an idea that Joanne shared with me, and I thought, you know, that's a good idea. What this is this is not, I want to be really clear to anybody who's listening. This is not gerrymandering. This is not us trying to ensure we get a block of votes. This is us responding to an issue that happened last year that caused a lot of work for the NE committee chair and the GM, and a lot of stress for people who wanted to ensure their votes were counted. And so this is, in terms of quality improvement plans, this is, I would refer to this as a countermeasure to ensure that this situation does not come up again.
Have
So
you heard any negativity about the amount of effort we're putting into this, or that we did last year? Or are you just getting ahead of that?
I don't think there's any negativity, but I will say after mailing out all of the marina renewals and mailing out all the kayak renewals and the dry slips, that there are so many wrong addresses
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Wow.
that, so, I mean, it really, people don't realize the address that you have is
Mm-hmm.
the address where your mail's going. We don't know if you have 6 addresses, that, then
Right.
I think you just need to bring awareness. Your ballot is going to go with the address that you have on file with Sudden Valley. If you want to ensure it goes to a different address,
Yeah.
send
Or
an
if you're-
email.
Or
I
if you're
can't
not
tell-
sure which one it is. So it sounds like this
Yeah.
is an ongoing thing. Like,
And we have, yes.
yeah,
and
okay.
we have address, update forms that we give to people, like, hey, in case you've moved or whatever, but we can only get them so much,
Right.
right?
Right.
So,
right.
but I think every time they receive a piece of information about the election, it reminds them to update
Mhm.
their address,
Yep.
then
Yep.
we will have the most chance of accuracy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. By the way, Morgan, I don't know how much time you have for something, but your graphic that showed the election process, that, which graphic I'm
Yeah,
talking,
yeah.
that was cool. I like that. Do you
I
have
do.
time? Do you have time to kind of think about a little graphic around update your post office,
Oh, yeah,
your
yeah.
mailing, something we could add to, I'm thinking an e-blast, something we could add to the Views article.
I can do something like that. That's a good idea. Just one little graphic that says, hey, check with Sudden Valley. Is your address right? Or,
Yeah.
with a little
Yeah.
post office box or something. Yeah.
Maybe there's a mailbox that opened and somebody's like,
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I
Yeah,
mean.
yeah. No,
I'm not a creative. Go ahead.
that's a good idea. I will put something together.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm gonna draft the words. That's all I've got. Anything for the good of the order?
Yes.
Okay.
Rob, thank you for all that you are doing this year. I really want to thank you. It's a lot. It is a lot to, and plus you do a lot of other things, for other organizations. So I just want to thank you. That's all.
Well, you're welcome.
Yeah.
I love our community. You guys are awesome. One of the things I want to let you guys know is our nonprofit got a Nielsen grant, which is a very big deal. And it's going to really be changing some of our leadership. And as a result, I'm going to be taking a few trips in. Unfortunately, this is going to be a few trips in October, but I will have my computer, I will have my phone. Yeah, I just want to let you guys know that there may be a few times when you call me, there's a time difference. And if I'm going to be gone, I will let everybody know. I'm so excited. I know I'm taking up the time, but
Fine.
I'll tell you guys more about it. It's the Nielsen Foundation. There's the folks that do the Nielsen ratings, and they're
Oh.
really into data analysis,
Mhm.
and they are going to help us with mentoring people who are nearly injured, especially those who are coming out of the hospital and they're finding themselves in this life. Like now, 6 weeks ago, I played baseball. Today I'm in a wheelchair and I'm having trouble eating. I can't tell you how much this is near and dear to my heart. Not that Sudden Valley N&E isn't either, but
We get it. This one
but-
is very personal to you.
very. And I'm really blessed that I'm in a position where I'm going to be able to take some leadership training and learning how to go from, we call it kind of a sort of a group of people that are actively trying to figure it out. And, we're chasing sparks to transitioning to a highly functional nonprofit organization that's we're going to be answerable to that community of are we spending our, anyway, man, I could go on and on about Here Now project.
Well,
I just-
I'm excited for you to bring some of that training back here.
Right, that's what I'm
Yes.
thinking, Karen. Yeah. At different times in the past, I remember we used to have board orientations. You probably don't want to too far afield with all of this, but it could, sometimes some of this stuff can be helpful,
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily, it doesn't talk about the outcome or a decision on a particular issue, but simply a process. How do you get there?
Mhm.
With inclusivity and people feeling that they were heard and et cetera.
Yeah, well, guys,
Congratulations,
we're taking a little bit bandwidth on nonprofits, but is there a motion to adjourn? If we want to keep chatting, we can about the Here Now project, but
Yeah,
we'll give back some bandwidth to YouTube.
I will move to adjourn.
And I will second, not that we need a second.
Thank you. Morgan, we are officially out.
What happened?
Okay, I'm
Thank you, Morgan.
ending the meeting.
Bye,
Yeah.
Morgan. Thank you.
Bye. Talk to you guys later.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, I'm going to
Yeah.
go too, because this is our dinner time and I've had to
yeah.